Sometimes we forget how important our pharmacies are chronic pain journey. We also miss how vital they are when it comes to our prescription medications. From dispensing them safely to going over them and making sure we understand how they will be used in our journeys, our pharmacy technicians don't get enough credit, don't you think? On today's show, we are going to highlight our personal pharmacy technicians, along with giving you some tips and tricks when it comes to your prescription medications. Are you ready for another chronic pain conversation? Let's go. Hello and welcome to Chronic Pain Conversation. My name is Shrifa McLaren Thomas, and this is my lovely co-host, Kalila Brislow. This is a show where we have open and honest dialogue about chronic pain. We share on our experiences, acknowledge a wide variety of chronic pain diagnoses, and look at ways to manage chronic pain. So, of course, let's get into it. One of my favorite parts of the show, pain or pleasure, Kalila?
I love how this is one of your favorite parts of the show. Both. Pain, my body, as you know, last week I was in like horrific pain, mentally, physically, all that other stuff.
Right.
This morning, last night, I actually got, for the first time in like over a week, I got back on the treadmill and to the gym. I actually even picked up my first pair of weights since I've been down here in California to add to my regimen. So like there's a lot of pleasure there. And I paid for my first, I put my deposit down for my surgery. So that's really exciting for my procedure that's coming up. So I'm excited about that. But I'm not going to lie, all of that has my body a little bit at like a 6 right now.
I got it.
You know what I mean? Painful pleasure.
That's okay. A little mix of both. For me, I can't even lie, it's pleasure. For now. The weather's changing. It's getting a lot more colder. Like I'm here in my little booties right now. Yeah, it's getting that cold. But other than that, I can't complain. Just like you, I spent some time with God early morning this morning, and I feel like when I do that, my day is just set. Nothing can really get in the way of this pleasure today. So I'm ready for today's show.
You know what? We really need to, and we need to put this into next season. We need to talk about how spirituality affects your mental health and your chronic pain. Like this needs to be a big conversation.
And it ties more than we think it does.
But I am going to say we are prepping for season 4. So if you haven't filled out your stories yet and you want to fill out your story,
hold on.
Make sure you visit our links. I'm just saying.
Hold on. You said season 4. Like this is my
1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to 5.
Please, I'm so done. But let's dive into the show today.
Let's go. So we're going to start off before we get into the Did You Knows.
Mm-hmm.
I have a little thing for you. Now, okay. I know that I asked you to place your prescriptions by your cell around you,
right?
But you're not allowed to look at them as yet. Okay.
Okay.
All right. How many types of medicine do you take?
Do I have time to count, or do I give you?
No, at the top of your head, how many do you take?
I'm gonna say 7.
Okay. What is the name of your pharmacist?
Hold on. Tablets or medications?
Oh my gosh.
Because remember, you might have a medication, but then the dose might have you taking more than one.
How many tablets of medication do you have to take in a day?
How many tablets?
Yes. Good girl, you can't go on Jeopardy with me. You just.
I'm gonna say 15.
Okay, mercy. What's the name of your physician? Your family physician?
Dr. Cardella.
What's the name of your neurologist?
I don't have a neurologist.
What's the name of your person that does your that used to do your lipedema?
You mean dialysis?
Thank you.
My nephrologist name is Michael Pandas. I'm so proud to call his name because I love him from the bottom.
Okay. What's the name of your pharmacy technician?
I have 2. So I have Teresa McKnight and I have Anna.
You remember them both. Okay. Way to go. What pill is most important to you that must be every day?
I have 3.
Okay, what are they?
So prednisone, Myfortic, and Advograph.
And what are the DIN numbers for them?
Have no clue.
What are the side effects for your medication?
There's plenty.
All right, and this is why we're having the show today, you guys.
That was a good one, guys. I'm gonna vow this was not planned. I'm like, why is she asking me all of this?
This
Like,
is not planned.
no, that was a good one.
Because but I told you, the only thing I said to her was, I've got an idea for our opening. And the reason why this is so important is because you're not the only person. Anybody that's watching this, as I was saying it, I was cueing you guys too, be like, I don't know. Which is why today we are talking about prescriptions and pharmacy technicians, somebody that's really into our teams, that we have to be like, this is so essential. Like sometimes we think it's our family doctor, sometimes we think it's X, Y, and Z. Absolutely. It's our pharmacy technicians. If they get that medicine wrong, we screwed.
Hold on, not only are we screwed, they're screwed too. So
they're screwed too.
Everybody.
Right? The doctor might touch us. The doctor might write the prescription,
right?
But it's the pharmacy technician that's literally handing you the drugs. Absolutely. Telling you what to do with them. Yep. And they are such a key person. I'm actually very proud of the fact that you know who your technicians' names are, because most people don't. And there's a couple of things that I wanted to get into. So let's have a bit of a conversation today. Okay, so about 128,000 people die from drugs prescribed to them. And this makes prescription one of the major top 4 risks, and when it comes to health risks. What are your thoughts about that?
Surprising the number, but I believe it. And I'm going to tell you why I believe it.
Why?
Never forget an experience I had in hospital where I was given the wrong medication. And I think of people who cannot speak for themselves, who can't comprehend for themselves. I'm the kind of person, believe it or not, I'm probably annoying for doing it. But when I get my meds, I'm literally looking at them one by one to see if I recognize them. If I don't, I Google what they may look like. Because some meds, they look differently, but they're the same thing. I'm that person. And I actually called it out, and I was right. It was the wrong medication. And
oh, man, I love you, because that's what we're supposed to be aware of. Be aware of what it is that you're taking. We're going to be talking about that later on.
I was told that would have been very detrimental.
So, it would be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you some stats about the United States, but know that Canada and the United States, their stats when it comes to this stuff aren't that different. So this will be very informative for you.
Right.
Okay. So there are more than 20,000 prescription drugs that are approved by the FDA. Okay. I didn't realize that there were over 20,000 prescription drugs. What are your thoughts about that?
I have a question.
What is it?
Because I know a lot of the prescriptions that we take, there's different variations. So does that count with variations, or is that just the drug alone minus the many different types? Do you understand what I'm saying?
That is a very interesting thought. I'd like to know that. So instead of it being like one type, there's like 10 kind of tramadols and these kind of,
right.
Okay. Well, yeah, because you've got the drugs that are like 6 milligrams, then you've got 3 milligrams.
And then even one of my meds that I take, prednisone, the IV form is different than the oral form. Does that just prednisone no matter what, or prednisone according to the different variations? Because that number is really high, 20,000.
That's really high, but that's a really good way of looking at it. Way to go. Okay. According to the Health Policy Institute in 2021, this year, 66 of U.S. adults take prescription drugs. Surprised or not surprised?
I'm not surprised.
Why?
I feel with a lot of things going on between us not really even taking care of ourselves, people who things are happening, they don't know what, they wait, and then it ends up worse than how it should be. I think it makes sense. Because then the only option for a doctor may just to give you that prescription drug to help manage or take care of what has been so far gone. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's really weird because sometimes I think like back to the Little House on the Prairie days, and there wasn't that many drugs. And I mean, I think the thing about it is I know that they said that 40% of them took it in the last 30 days. And
Mhm.
I'm kind of shocked because I don't know if it's just a painkiller
Right.
or if it's just, but does it does surprise me. I am a little astonished. I would like to hear 66% of Americans aren't taking drugs
Yeah,
because there are alternative
of course. Of course.
medicines, but it's a
That's
very
that's
interesting.
the reality of it.
That is definitely the reality of it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, how about this one?
Mhm.
The therapeutic areas with the highest spending in the US are antibiotics, oncologists, autoimmune, and respiratory diseases. These are the top four areas in terms of prescription drugs. Does that surprise you?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Now let's see if this one does. The leading drug classes in the US are antihypertensive. I should know that. Pain relievers and mental health drugs. The leading classes in drugs. Out of those 20,000 that we talked
Right.
about, the leading ones are
Absolutely.
anti hypersensitive. So your ADHD, ADD, something to calm you down.
Right.
Pain relievers, your Tylenols, your Motrins,
Yeah.
right? And then the mental health drugs. So, does mental
I
health drugs surprise you?
I believe that. I
Mhm.
would say maybe not back in the day it would have been because I feel like mental health has been so much more aware of now by others. And I think it's more prominent, especially in a time where COVID's going on, like mental health issues and illnesses have gone through the roof.
Well,
So I think for it being a stat for this year, I definitely believe that.
it is a stat for this year,
Mhm.
but what my interest is that in those being the leading causes, how
Mhm.
come they're not the leading topics that are out there? Why isn't mental health a leading conversation that's out there?
Yep. Yep.
Do you
And
get
I
what I'm saying? If
yep.
you know that you're giving out this much prescriptions, how are you combating it?
Are we and I think that's what it goes back to when we always try to advocate for these things because
Mhm.
it's a serious thing.
Okay.
It's a serious thing.
It is. It's so serious. Let's talk about the most commonly abused drugs that they have here in
Mhm.
the States.
Mhm.
Opioids, most people are aware of.
Absolutely.
Tranquilizers. I can never say this word. Prescription stimulants and benzodiazepines. I got it. Yeah.
I believe that. I
Okay.
say I believe it because they're easy to get in the sense where I've had to use opioids
Mm-hmm.
almost all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's prescribed, right? And
Mm-hmm.
with that, it can be abused. I could say, "Hey, I'm still feeling pain," and then I get a refill, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's easier and it's more common, like they said, to be
Mm-hmm.
abused,
It is. And the thing
especially
about it
when
is people are
especially when
selling
you're
them. They'll take them
assigned
to
to
sell them.
the drug, especially when you're assigned to that drug. It's an easy 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's one that might really shock you.
Mhm.
The US consumed 30%, 30% of the world's supply of opioids back in 2015. I mean, that's almost a third.
That's a
And the
lot.
United States, well, I know that the United States is big, but when you put all these continents together, the United States is just a country. Like,
Yeah,
that for
definitely.
me is like ridiculous.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Okay. Last one.
Yeah.
Almost 50,000 people died from opioid overdose in 2019.
That's in 1 year?
That's in 1 year.
That's a problem.
You think? Which is why we're having today's show.
That's
right?
a
It's really
problem.
crazy because if the number is 128,000
Yeah.
people die from it, and in America 50,000, that's almost a third of that people, but
Yeah.
they're taking a third of the drugs.
Yeah.
Isn't this
That
crazy?
that's not cool. That's not
That
cool.
is not cool
And
at
I
all.
think our clinicians and physicians and those who oversee prescribing these things need to, I want to say, try to do more to bring that number down.
Mhm.
Whether it's,
They
a prescription is finished, I need a refill, well, come in, let's do an assessment or whatever the case is. Although someone could fake something,
all of those things.
but I just feel like we should put forth more effort than to just say, okay, I'll fax it over to your pharmacy.
Well, they don't. So one of the things is when it comes to opioids,
Mm-hmm.
you are not allowed to just get a refill. In fact, if anybody
Right.
ever looks, when it comes to your opioids, it's the one drug that's not
Right.
refillable. Do you know what I mean?
True. True.
Because people would take it out of context. You always have to get your
Absolutely.
doctor's prescription.
Absolutely.
And so this comes down to, are the doctors caring? Are the doctors,
Doing their
but
part.
physicians, the pharmacy technicians, they also have the ability to be like watching all of these things, and they'll
Right.
tell you and we get mad at them. We get mad, give it, you need this,
I need
but
it. Mm-hmm.
you need to go and get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
And also I think the doctor should give that disclaimer. Like, you cannot get a refill unless you contact me.
well,
Maybe that would save them the effort of pounding and hounding the pharmacy technicians as well, because some people don't know. Some people feel like it's like every other medication, just give me my refill.
no, it's not. And if like myself and Sharifa have both taken opioids, but the truth of the matter is, I still keep my body at like the most minimal one. I've taken tramadol, and there's a narc one that I've taken, and that's only when I've had like the surgery or a procedure. I am doing everything to make sure that my body can tolerate a bit of pain management, because, like we had in one of our other conversations, pain is seen differently culture-wise.
Yeah.
That could also be a reason why America's got 30% of it, because other cultures, other beliefs, they work around pain completely different.
Absolutely.
So this can be
I'm like you. I only get opioid prescribed to me if it comes to like a procedure or a surgery, and that's only because I'm allergic to Tylenol, so I don't have a choice but to get an opioid for pain, which is very weird. But yeah, I'm allergic.
So you're allergic to Tylenol. You can't take Motrin. You can't. There's so many different ibuprofens out there.
Yeah.
Bears.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay, so note to self: if she goes down, don't give her Tylenol.
Don't give her Tylenol.
Do not give her Tylenol. All right, you people. All right. So let's talk about our physicians, pharmacy technicians, because as much as they might not, we don't have an MD behind it.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is so critical. How they give you customer service,
Absolutely.
How they talk to you, how they prescribe to you, what kind of relationship you have with them.
Yep.
Dudes, these are key people in your life. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know the name of my pharmacy technicians. Girl, I go to Shoppers.
Yeah.
I go once every 3 months. I see these people I see them like 4 times a year. Maybe, technically 8. You got to drop it off and pick it up.
That makes sense.
But I do, once I'm there, I remember to like look at their names and say hi and thank you. And I look at their tags. So
that's okay.
Right? Do you only go to one place to pick up your prescriptions and get them filled?
Interestingly enough, when I did dialysis, I only went to Rexall. So what would happen is my nephrologist or I always had two. So I had a pharmacist at dialysis, and then my pharmacist who at the actual pharmacy that would connect and keep in touch or whatever the case is, right?
Yeah.
And so now going through transplant, I no longer have my pharmacist at dialysis, but I do have a pharmacist down at the hospital that I did.
Right.
Well, I don't necessarily go to the community pharmacy at Rexall anymore. I would call in and have my meds delivered to me.
Right.
So it's very different now. But in the case where they don't have it or I can't get it in time, which I should never do, never wait for the last minute, which we'll get into later. They would call or I would call and then I would have to go to Rexall or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have good rapport with them. Like I come in and she's like, "Hey Sharifa," like she knows me by name and all that stuff. And I think that too is amazing when it comes to like, bedside manners. You feel like they're there for you.
They're there.
And one thing I like that she does is like, even though she knows I get this on a regular, she'll be like, "You got this. You remember how to take it and all that stuff." And any little key thing, she'll say, "Oh, remember not to take it with alcohol, or remember this kind of thing." Although you may already know, she just gives that extra, tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do need that remember. So I love that.
Right.
But at the same token, this is a great way of saying, basically when you make that one-on-one relationship with them, just like you're a physician, then even when you can't make it into them, you've already got this rapport that when they're sending it out to you, they're still making sure that it's okay. They recognize your name. Do you realize how many people, like I would think sometimes that a pharmacy technician, they get more clientele than a doctor does in a day. And there's a lot of responsibility that they go into, and even their assistants do. So, it's a huge thing.
And one thing they don't have to.
No.
Because I even get the thing like, is your doctor still the same? Yeah, cool. Okay, I'll call and get the prescription from him and then whatever. Like, they don't have to do all that. So shout out to you, Anna, at Rexall.
Shout out, Anna. I love you. I think that for me, what I've always appreciated about just my pharmacy, there's been two in my life. One that was right beside my doctor's office, and then there's one right beside my home, right? And if I ever needed something that needed to be taken within 24 hours or emergency, I would take it to the one at my home, which is really funny because I literally grew up the street from my doctor. So I've known this pharmacist, but her son's in now, since I was like single digits. Right. I still don't remember their name. I'm sorry. My brain fucked. This is who you don't want to be right now. Be like Sharifa right now. Be like Sharifa. But there is, but I always just like having two. I think one of the other things is like not hopping around is also important because they can see everything that's going through. Like I love the Shoppers Drug Mart database because you can literally go anywhere and you can get it refilled or they can see what's happening with you. So there's a lot of different things that are coming up in terms of even some of these benefit packages on their apps. They have the ability to see what your prescriptions have been and everything that's been coming in. So that's pretty cool. I love that. Well, let's talk about understanding your medication because why are you smiling so hard?
Because it's funny, the question you asked me, like, what's your identification number? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right. So people, the same way that you would get into a car and like know where your destination is, you need to know where your keys are and all that stuff. You want to know the make and the model. You're so proud to know the make and the model. Even though like it's kind of like the barcode on the food, you know what I mean? It's there, people don't care about it. But if you're ready to get the discount, you want to make sure those last 3 digits are the same one so that you're picking up the right. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
It's so true.
You don't care about you don't care about how much the apple juice is, but if it's on sale, like 742. Yeah, okay, I got it. It's important. It's not necessarily important to like know all your drugs, but okay, so this is my bag of drugs you got it. That's right, people. If you're watching this show, take a picture and show us your medication.
Literally.
Because actually today is Pharmacy Technician Day around the world. So if you don't, if you happen to see your pharmacist today, give him a high five or a COVID nudge.
Or even take a picture with your bag and tag us in it on Instagram.
And tag
Yep.
Okay, so everybody always asks how to identify your stuff. So
Yeah,
without me giving you
Dalila,
my
can you
address,
teach me how to identify this number?
okay.
Oh,
You see it? You found it?
it says DIN right on the bottle. It says DIN right on the. Okay, so I always look at the RX number, like the refill number that you give them to say this.
No.
Ah, and so let me understand this. The DIN on your prescription medication is something that's what do I say? Universal?
So no. So basically there's a couple of things. So right now we're talking about Canada and America. DIN in Canada represents the drug identification number. And it's an 8-digit code that is assigned by Health Canada to a drug product prior to being marketed in Canada.
Okay.
In the US, the FDA, which is the US Food and Drug Administration, when they're doing their search, they've given their cells an 8-digit number as well. So my tramadol down here and my tramadol in Canada can have two different numbers. Sometimes they're the same, but they normally have two different numbers because they're different. So every drug has to be approved in every country.
Right.
And based on that, that's when they give it a DIN or they give it.
So if you and I had tramadol in Canada, we both have the same DIN.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. If we are taking the same tramadol with the same amount of how many tablets and the same amount of prescription, then we have the same DIN number. She's like,
well, right there. The DIN number changes. Hold on. The DIN number changes with the amount prescribed and even the amount that you're taking.
Okay. Yes. So like you were saying before, when we were talking about the 20,000,
right?
So tramadol has different variants of it. There's different versions of it. Another example is, do you have any prescriptions that you've had to increase or decrease, but it's the same? My Zipaclone.
Yeah.
So my Zipaclone right now, what I'm taking is 7.5 milligrams. What they started me off with was like 5, and it was still not putting me to sleep when I was in pain.
Right.
So that will have a separate DIN number than this one because it's a different. It's not just the fact that it's tramadol, but they also have to give it because each version of it, like you said, gets a different one. Right?
I need to compare my other bottles now. That's very interesting.
The information.
No, seriously. Guys, we prepped this show together, but when it comes full-fledged, it's like you learn. Like that's very interesting. I'm just like looking at. I'm like, oh, it's right on the bottle.
So I'm gonna put up right now. This is for anybody that's watching. This is your Canadian drug directory. If you go onto that site, write it down for a little bit. I'm just going to leave it up there before I give you the next one. In Canada, this is where the government of Canada has the listing. What's so great about it is that even when your pharmacist, when you get your drugs from your pharmacist, they tend to give you the sheet of paper that tells you the side effects and all this stuff. Now, let's not lie. I'll just throw it right out.
Technically, yes. But I have my paper.
You have the paper.
Yep.
Right. Do you ever go back to it if your body's feeling off to see if you're experiencing any side effects?
No, I just Google that. I still figure it out, but I just Google that.
Some people don't know how to figure it out.
Yeah, that's
and just how you were astonished by your DIN number just now, a lot of people don't know that. They'll go and they'll put in their RX number trying to figure it out. And they're like, this is not right. So in America, okay, so here's the deal. So before I put this up here, we tried to do the same search because what we wanted to do was be able to talk to people about if you forget what your side effects are, if you lose that paper. I'm told here in America that they only give you that paper once with your original, when you first originally get it. And then after that,
you're on your own.
You're on your own. which completely astonishes me. I mean, save a tree, but save a life. So, but at Shoppers, they give it to you over and over and over again,
Yeah.
which is really good, right?
Yeah.
Here in Canada. So we went to the FDA government, and while we were able to find the drug and the name and what it stood for, it couldn't list what the side effects were, couldn't give you a lot of information. And me and Sharifa spent like a good hour trying to figure this stuff out. However, we came across a site that we want to be able to highlight. I don't know who put this together, but drugs.com, air high five to you.
Absolutely.
Whether you're Canadian or American, you can put in it by name. You can put it in by your DIN, and you can find out who makes it, what your side effects are, all of those other things. But one of the things that we do when we take pills is we don't know what our side effects are. And sometimes those side effects don't kick in for a little while. Like, I've been on here and I've told my story. You know, I had a drug. I was taking I can't remember the name of it, my brain fog. I was taking a drug, and that's what was giving me the hallucinations and the suicidal thoughts that I had to voluntarily put myself into the psych ward at the hospital.
Right.
And once they got that out of my system and they gave me something different, you know, my life was kind of back on pace.
Right.
But we hear, like, if we showed a commercial about, like, how many times, Sharifa, have you seen a commercial and it's like, so-and-so will give you diarrhea, loss of arms, you know, you might have problems with childbirth, leaking bowel movement, inconstipation, like, and you're like, but this is only supposed to clear headaches. So why am I having a leaky booty after? I don't know.
I sat down one day, and I kid you not, a commercial is supposed to be like 60 seconds. I seen this commercial over and over, and every time I'm like, all right, so this is not done yet. One day I timed it 2 minutes, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Recently, I heard one at the end of it say, if this doesn't work for you, try AstraZeneca. I was like, what's going on?
And what kills me is that they always make the picture like the person's like flying and just
playing with their grandchildren and on vacation. And I'm like, if I take this, then so many other things are going to happen to me. And I'm like, what's the point?
What's the point? They say, but if you read the fine print at the bottom, so technically speaking, they've done all they've had to do. They informed you. Just get a bigger version of it and read.
At this point, if you don't want to read the fine print, we'll tell you verbally everything.
I'm just saying, like, our prescriptions, no matter whether they're opioids, whether they're Tylenol, whether they're anything else, most of them have a side effect or a possible side effect. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but knowledge is power. Absolutely. And you should know if this is going to be affecting you, and you should know how long, because sometimes it actually does tell you. It may take you 2 or 3 months for this side effect to kick in, because it takes a while for something to get into your system.
Right.
You could be taking something and you're thinking you're okay, but it's not just about, but your pharmacy technician is there for you to be able to have a conversation. I was in a group one day, and a lady said that she thinks she's been trying this new drug and she thinks that she might be having some side effects. And so she goes, okay, well, I'll make an appointment with the doctor, but it'll probably take me 3 weeks to get in there. And we were like, wait, hold on. You think that you have a side effect from your drug? Yeah, I'll just keep taking it until, and I was like, could you stop? Go to your pharmacy technician.
Yeah.
They understand the drugs more than you do.
And the pharmacy is one place you don't really need an appointment.
No, it's not.
You don't.
And that pharmacist right there can work on your behalf to advocate for your doctor and say, we have to change this.
Right.
Too high of a dose, too low of a dose, whatever.
Yep.
So talk about that. Let's go into drug organization.
Yes.
So I have a question for you. How do you organize this?
Well, When I organized that, my mom gave me, especially with transplant, I've had to take more at the beginning until, I was tapered down. So my mom gave me these organizers. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, morning, lunch, all that. Yes, that right there. That right there. Fortunate enough, I take meds for the most part once a day in the morning. And then my next dose isn't until the evening when I'm home at 9 o'clock. So with that being said, I do prepare myself. If I know I'm not going to be home at that time or whatever, I'll bring that little thing with me with my 9 o'clock dose.
Got you.
Right.
So, so for me, there are timers. I need to set timers because I will go through my day and forget what they are.
Right.
And I won't turn the timer off till I actually take the pill, even if it's and it will annoy people. So they'll be like, go take your pills. Well, feed me first. And they'll be like, okay.
And I can attest to that you're actually telling the truth, because there's times where we're in the meeting and you're ding, 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 and you just know she presses snooze because it goes off in like 5 minutes. Like every 5 minutes you're hearing it.
10.
Yep.
And you know it because I will, like with my brain fog, I will be on my way to get my meds and then forget
that you're on your way to do that.
That I'm on my way to do that. Speaking of which, since we're talking about morning meds, I should probably just take my first morning med since we're here. Let's just do this now.
She's publicly doing it, guys. She's publicly taking her meds. What about planning ahead when it comes to organizing?
So a couple of things that I do, and you've liked this, is so I always have spares.
Okay.
So planning ahead for me means knowing that there are days I will rush out of the door without my meds. And it's not that it's not on purpose, but even though I have my organizer, sometimes again, I just forget and I don't pick up the day and go. So I have two spare ones. A small spare one that is in my car. And then I have a small spare one that's always in my purse. I also do spare ones at places where I visit often. So it's like my sisters or something that, if anything happens, there's an extra pain pill or a day's diagnosis over there. So I put them in different places, and then every few months I'll actually refill them because I'll take the old, because I don't want it sitting there for a year. So I'll take it and do that. I have a 3, 3, and 3 thing where it's like, okay, get your 3 months supply. Everybody assumes that you only have to do it 1 month at a time.
Nah.
Get your 3 months supply. Order prescriptions 3 weeks in advance. I hear stories.
I've been offered 6 months, and I said no problem. They're like, if you use it or if you stop it, then that's fine. Just dispose of it. But with your 6 months, I said no problem.
It makes life so much easier. That way you only have to get your prescriptions 4 times a year. But then people forget. So when you're down to your last three weeks, order 3 weeks in advance, because it doesn't mean that it's going to be available immediately.
Right.
Certain meds may take a while. Like, you know about that, right, Sharifa?
Oh yeah.
So Sharifa was telling us the story about how long does it sometimes take for your meds to come in?
Depending on when, especially because they're delivered from a major hospital here in Toronto, I could even be looking up to 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So it depends on, the popularity, how many people need it, when I call for it, all that stuff like that. So I can't call today and expect it to come by Friday. It's not. I would be lucky, but definitely not. So I definitely keep track when I'm filling my stuff, making good judgment. And even if I'm not sure, I just still call.
And a lot of these programs now have the refill reminder as well. Right. So don't ignore these things. If there's stuff that you can put into place, put them into place and use them. Put a timer in your calendar. When you get your drugs, get 3 months in advance, you'd be able to sit down and this is your reminder. But there are stories that I hear of patients who need their drugs, and they don't go and they get them until the drug is run out, and then they get mad at the pharmacist because they feel like they're undersupplied.
Yeah.
And it's just, what people have to understand is the pharmacy can also only hold a certain amount of pills. They don't have it stocked to the high. They have to get it from the pharmacy, the pharmaceutical company. You have to give time to get it from here to there. It's not like the grocery store where you go right in.
Right.
So especially with things that are going on with COVID and everything else like that, get your prescriptions 3 weeks in advance.
Definitely.
Last three, pick up your prescriptions 3 days in advance. Never be without your pills. I know it's really crazy.
Yeah.
People don't know this, but there is a time lapse that you can have. I think it's a 1 to 2 week time lapse, so that or maybe it's at least one, where you can have, they know that your refill's about to be over,
right,
but you can still pick up your new refill. You don't have to be immediately out. So these 3 and 3s, get your 3 months, get your 3 month supply, order prescriptions 3 weeks in advance, pick up your prescriptions 3 days in advance. This can help you to make sure that you're never not having it.
You don't, yeah.
One of the other things that I do to organize is, I don't have right in front of me, is my satchel. Is we even came up with it because we love it. We have a put it up if you've got the picture, the survival satchel.
Of course.
Sharifa will tell you, we are on the go. There have been so many times where I have been tired of lugging around my prescriptions around in a big bag, or perhaps just forgetting it at home. And this survival satchel is like the ultimate accessory for chronic pain patients who wanted the convenience of carrying their medicine and their pain reduction accessories all on the go in a compact form. It's got 2 zippers. It's got an adjustable waistband. You can see that this chick is styling it. You can carry your phone and wallet into it. But we want to make sure that people understand, like, you can look cute and take your meds with you. You can look like there's no reason not to have it.
Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Sharifa will tell you, when I was doing Compassion, which is a nonprofit for one of our churches, when we have all day events, she will tell you, I have my satchel, I've got my fanny pack right on me. Doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I have some kind of little pack hanging from my side that has a juice, that has my meds, that has like a tender ball in it. Because if I have to walk around and leave my big bag somewhere else, that sucker is on my side no matter where I go.
Yep.
She knows it doesn't come off. That's my emergency. It does not come off mine. You know how a seamstress or a wedding planner will have their little pouchy thing? That's mine.
That's it.
Interested in one. And the great thing about it is just to those for you that are watching, we are actually, because of this show, we're putting it on sale. So it is $39.99 and you can get it shipped to you. So jump in and get your survival satchel.
Click the bio.
We also want to know what our audience is doing. Say that again, Sharifa?
I was saying click the bio link and they'll see the shop there.
Click the bio link and you will see the shop there. But we want to ask you guys, definitely let us know what kind of tips you have for making sure that your medicine is organized, or tips that you have on how to be friends with your pharmacist and how you do certain things.
Right. One tip before we wrap up the show, a lot of people like myself, we should never do it. But let's just say we forget to get in touch with the doctor, or we just say, all right, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, we have that one last pill. What a lot of people don't know is that if you go to the pharmacy and you actually bring your bottle, or if that's your pharmacy and they have it on file and they see that, it's actually something you take on a regular and it's not going to be harmful to you, they can actually give you a 72-hour supply. So that's 3 days. So that means you have 3 days to get in touch with your doctor to get your full prescription. So that is an option. Or you can even go to an urgent care clinic. They can help you as well.
Got you.
Yeah.
Love it. So, a lot of people don't know about that.
Yeah.
And, we were talking about, things like with COVID, things with like going on vacation, things like that's another thing. When you go on vacation, make sure that you don't just have enough. Make sure that you have literally more than enough. I always, and thank God, because even for an example, when I traveled down here, I literally traveled. I was only supposed to be here for a month. And I was like, let me just travel with a month and a half. Just because I was like, and it saved my booty.
And you see how that worked out.
Right?
100%.
But
just have it convenient as possible, no matter where you are, so that you won't miss your meds, because taking it on time is so vital and essential.
Also, know one of the things that we don't talk about, I'm going to put in here, is when to take your meds. I learned that Cymbalta, it gives you like an energy boost.
Right.
So you're not taking it after, don't take it after 5. Don't take it. You're supposed to go like, don't take caffeine after 5 p.m. Like there's certain pills, like your iron pills, you don't want to be able to take it with your, you don't want to be able to take it with other pills. So this is a great conversation to have with your technician, your pharmacist, that if you're like Tarifa and you're having 13 pills, pull them aside and say, which one should I take together? How often do I spread it out? Is it too heavy for my stomach? Should I be having food with it? As much as they just say take alcohol, don't take alcohol or don't eat food, you know, you might not be able to compile all the ones that say eat food with it because it might be too much for your stomach. Have these conversations with your pharmacist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's wrap this up, Mama. Let's wrap this up.
I just think final thoughts, like I agree with what you said 100%. I think it's just a matter of we need to understand our medications, what we're taking, how we're taking it. Like I said, for me, I have maybe 7 different pills. Doses depend on the amount of pills. But it's just to understand for ourselves how we're taking these things, because it can sometimes be harmful if we don't, follow the regimen as to how we're supposed to.
Awesome. I think that I would say is we know that our meds are important to us. They're part of how it makes our body move.
Right.
You're right in terms of knowing and how and what they do, but know what happens, know what your body responds like when you don't have them in your system as well. Like there have been days where my body hurts so much. It's really funny. I don't have my meds. And it's not that I don't mean to. I just can't even get out of bed to get my meds, Or I'll be moving and then I'll be like, okay, so I forget to have my meds. Because this happens. I forget. I do forget. And there have been times where that sucker snooze button annoys me that I actually push stop and then I forget.
You literally forget. Yep.
True. And so I know what happens if my body goes 2 days without having something in my system. So recognize what it does for you as well as what it doesn't for you. Does it make you dizzy? Does it increase, or does your pain increase, decrease, whatever your condition might be?
Absolutely.
But your meds are they're your shoes. You know how your shoes feel. You know which ones to wear for which engagement. All of those different things. Know when to take them. Know what they do for you. Know how you react to them. Know the side effects from them. Do your
analogy. Your meds are like your shoes. Know what they do for you. When you wear those heels, know that you have to have a backup. I like that.
But am I lying? Right? Like there's just, we know so much about our clothes. We know so much about our shoes. We know so much about, you know what I'm saying? Like the food that we put in, that we know so much. And yet there are a lot of times when we have a conversation, even with my clients, we have conversations about, what does your medication do? I don't know. What are the side effects? I don't know. So what are you taking it for? For my heart, my blood pressure. Okay. But that's the only information.
Yeah.
You should know more than that. You should definitely know more than that. Absolutely. So medicine should not be an I don't know in your conversation. So, I mean, like, you may forget some stuff, but, someone gave us a like. Mwah, thank you. Okay. Do you want to do our keep it moving moment? We're so over, but having a good day today.
I'm with it. Let's go.
All right. So today's keep it moving moment is this. Courage is being scared to death and saddling up anyways. Got it? Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyways. I love that. Rifa, what do you think?
I absolutely like that.
I love
I
that.
think it speaks for itself. We just got to do it. And even
Mhm.
when you feel you don't have the courage, I think when you accomplish certain things, you're like, all right, it was there. It was definitely there.
I had it.
Well, guys, that's our show for today. My name is Shrifa McLaren Thomas from YouTube, The Thomas Life.
And I'm Kalila Brucewell, aka The Overcomer. We will be back next Tuesday. I got so excited, my bad. We will be back next Tuesday with guest Susan Douglas, creator of the Douglas Method, a system which incorporates the ACE protocol, which is analyze the root cause, correct, and educate to stop reoccurrences. I love this. Her mission is to help alleviate pain and discomfort in many conditions, to include but not limited to osteoporosis, joint mobility syndrome, which I have, frozen shoulder. I've never heard about that before.
Wow.
Sciatica, back, neck, and joint pain. I'm so excited to have this lady on.
Things I can get some tricks from that and some tips about it.
Right? So I'm so excited. She will be here. So that's pretty cool.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us again for another episode of Chronic Pain Conversations. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at CP Conversations. If you're a chronic pain sufferer who turned a conqueror, or you even live with a chronic disease or illness, please, we invite you to be our guests by filling our Share Your Story form on any of our social bio links.
Yeah. And we also invite business services that help support or cater to the chronic pain community. So if you are an advocate or a networker, if you are a specialist when it comes to chronic pain illness, if you serve to help the people out there, maybe help get them a government assistance or educate them in terms of how they can get benefits to correct themselves or help themselves, we invite you to be our guest and to promote your business. So you just want to submit your information by visiting any of our bio links.
Remember, Chronic Pain Conversations is the show that enlightens and advocates about chronic pain. We hope you have a blessed week.
My medication alarm.